Good morning and welcome to Great Tree Zen Women's Temple, Saturday morning lecture series. This morning's topic will be staying at home and practicing the way. But first, we'll have an opening sutra. An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teaching. And now we'll have a brief statement about dana. In Buddhism, when Zen practitioners share their understanding of the teachings and practice, it is offered freely as a practice of dana paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely. And this practice is done without expectation of getting something in return. This is the spirit of speaking about the Dharma. Other ways to practice dana is to offer support to those who share the teaching, to support places of spiritual practice, and to give without judgment or expectation when opportunities arise. Those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a dana basis. Please support their practice by giving what you can. Daigu, do you have a place that you would like dana to go to?
Yeah, Great Tree.
Okay, then go to greattreetemple.org and follow the donate path. Thank you. Our speaker this morning is Randal Daigu Pride. He is an artist, poet, and lay Buddhist teacher in Arden, North Carolina. In 1998, he received the Bodhisattva precepts from Reverend Teijo Munnich at Zen Center of Asheville's Jukai ceremony. In 2015, he received the lay teacher's okesa from Reverend Munnich in the Zaike Tokudo ceremony at Great Tree Zen Women's Temple. He co-facilitates at the Zen Center of Asheville for zazen instruction and Buddhist studies. He has 5 wonderful children and 9 incredible grandchildren in Austin, Texas, Madison, Wisconsin, and Coquitlam, Canada. Welcome, Randal.
Thank you, Lorna. I was asked by Teijo to talk on the subject of home remainer as contrasted to home leaver. In other words, someone who has ordained as a lay monk, but stopped short of ordaining as a priest to remain living and working within secular society while still practicing and nurturing the Buddha Dharma. So not exactly a householder nor a monastic priest either, somewhere in the middle. So this talk will, sort of give a broad overview of my understanding of lay practice, as well as my own personal practice, since that's my experience. All Buddhists, laity, monks, and priests share taking refuge, observing precepts, and practicing the Eightfold Path, but their settings of monastery, Dharma center, home and workplace differ, as well as their practice structures and opportunities. The monastery offers the practice structure within an immersive dharmic experience, whereas lay practitioners and monks must self-schedule zazen and Dharma study amidst the constraints and responsibilities of family and workplace, while also not excluding them from the practice, especially the practice of mindfulness and observing of the precepts. Generalities aside, not all monastics are the same, nor all lay practitioners the same in either commitment or accomplishment, skillful means or compassion or ethics. Dogen, our Japanese Soto Zen founder, sought further instruction in China because he felt that Japan's 13th century monastics were lacking in those attributes. And as history shows, his intuition was not in vain. Originally in India, the lay community offered material support to wandering ascetics and later monastics in return for merit and instruction in the Dharma. For them, the Buddha emphasized morality and generosity in order to live in harmony within family and community. That symbiotic relationship continues in the modern era with the rise of Dharma centers led by ordained priests or lay teachers. Our non-resident Zen Center of Asheville, for example, provides our Sangha a space for morning zazen and a weekly evening Dharma talk preceded by a period of zazen. In pre-pandemic time, we offered a monthly all-day Saturday sit, and we'll resume that in the near future if possible. Though no longer resident, our founding teacher, Reverend Teijo Munnich, still comes in to give a monthly Dharma talk from nearby Alexander, where she has her Great Tree Zen Women's Temple. Several of us were ordained by her as lay teachers, and we give the other weekly talks as well as maintain the center with other members. Any dana received from our talks is given to the center to help pay the rent and offer a stipend to Reverend Munnich. Though a women's residential temple, Great Tree offers sessions and retreats open to men as well as children and families. Southern Dharma Retreat Center and Hot Springs also offers sessions year-round from various Buddhist traditions, one of which is led by Teijo and Meredith McIntosh in a combined Zen Alexander technique retreat. In this Western North Carolina area in general, there are numerous small groups from other Buddhist traditions, and many of us come together annually to celebrate Weesaw. As I understand it, Soto Zen has 3 precept training ceremonies. Jukai is for lay practitioners who also sew the small Raksu. Zaike Tokudo is for lay monk ordination, and Jukai Tokudo is for priest ordination, and both sew the full okesa. I have received the Jukai and Zaike Tokudo and have attended many sessions over the years with Reverend Munnich and Reverend Shohaku Okamura in various locations. Part of that experience, other than all-day zazen, was learning various rituals and chants, as well as participating in the formal oryoki style of taking meals. I continue to maintain a daily zazen practice, either at home or at our Zen Center. When not giving a Dharma talk Tuesday evenings, I am often the doan for others' talks, and am doan for our Saturday morning 2 periods of zazen, where we also chant the robe verse and heart sutra afterwards. As a volunteer, I taught Buddhism and led zazen at Craggy Correctional Center in Woodfin, North Carolina for 10 years. Though retired from my corporate job, I still freelance remotely from home to pay off my mortgage and generate savings for when I'm no longer able to work. A couple of times a year, I visit my children and grandchildren and my sister in other cities. Some of my spare time is spent enjoying hobbies such as poetry, photography, gardening, tennis, hiking, and swimming. I keep abreast of environmental and political issues and sometimes include them in a Dharma talk to shine a little Buddha light on them. Ever since the Vietnam War, I have been participating in nonviolent street protests for anti-war, civil rights, and environmental causes, and donate money to NGOs who specialize in them. So that's what it's like for this particular home remainer practicing the middle way. My self-appointed role is to encourage the practice of Shikantaza Zazen and the study of Buddhist teachings, as well as to continue deepening my own understanding and compassion. When one of Buddha's followers complained to him that bad stuff kept happening even though he had taken refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha, Buddha replied that he never said that delusion wouldn't keep arising, but that one could change how they responded to it through the practice of the Eightfold Path. That is what both home leavers and remainers do to the best of their abilities. It is up to the individual to stay committed and sincere, regardless of whatever weather the karmic winds blow in. So I have a little addendum to this home remainer talk. Though I've not experienced the intensive immersive training of a priest in a Buddhist monastery, I do have the experience of home leaving, as I gave up all possessions to live for 10 years in an intentional spiritual community indirectly associated with San Francisco Soto Zen Center and Shunryu Suzuki Roshi. It was called The Farm and considered by its critics to be a hippie cult of Stephen Gaskin, its spiritual teacher, and there was some truth to that claim. However, we dedicated our first publication to Suzuki Roshi. In magazine format, it set out our vision of an egalitarian society and included many photographs of our early years of building, farming, cooking, and midwifery. Its title was Hey Beatnik, because Stephen said he was too old to be a hippie. And it also acknowledged the close affinity with beat culture writers influenced by Buddhism: Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, Diane de Prima, Philip Whalen, Gary Snyder, and others. After my discharge from the Navy in 1968, I finished my previously interrupted undergraduate degree, got married, had a baby, and worked while my wife pursued her master's degree. We soon separated, however, and I became, I think, the farm's first single father in the summer of 1973 with my 3-year-old daughter in tow. Completely disillusioned with consumer society, I can attest to the visceral freeing sensation of the home leaver. When I gave it all up to live in a quasi-monastic environment where fame and gain was mutually renounced, except for Stephen's attraction to the spotlight, other than just getting the word out. Though the whole community sat zazen together only once a week, we practiced a form of daily mindfulness where we agreed to call out each other's disharmonious speech and actions in an effort to make our subconscious conditioning transparent. It was a work in progress and often abused, though when done with compassion, was effective as intended. The farm changed from being an economic collective to a land trust shortly after I left in 1983. Stephen continued to live there until his death in 2014, though no longer his spiritual teacher. Other than my stint in the Navy on an aircraft carrier, my time on the farm has been my only communal living experience. There is suffering of birth and death, and illness and injury, and there's the suffering of human contention arising out of our egocentric ignorance, our greed, hatred, and delusions. Since we evidently can't escape suffering, we have to dismantle it, to deconstruct it, to let go of its tools. That is what the Buddha taught, and is our practice as Sangha and as individuals, both lay and monastic. So that is my presentation on staying at home and practicing the way. If there are any questions, the floor is open. Yes. You'll have to unmute. There.
Thank you very much. And thank you for that amazing talk. And it's really an honor to be in the presence of everyone here, but of course, to be in your presence with that, I think, really special and rare set of experiences that you've brought here today. It's just, I feel very humbled to be in your presence. I wonder, one specific question I have is, in a collective situation like you were living, and as a householder, essentially, how do you continue to be creative? How do you live as an artist, in the sense that art is often self-focused rather than shared collectively at the, yeah. So I guess I'd be interested to hear how you put those two together.
Well, let's see if I can answer that. I'm not sure. Well, as far as art goes, I was drawn to it. We're all drawn to various things, and I was drawn to art and poetry at an early age in high school. And so I've sort of woven around during my life of touching that. Sometimes that the art impulse, well, for instance, on the collectives on the farm, personal art was more sublimated into, say, our making of tie-dye t-shirts and of doing embroidery and beadwork on our clothes. And so that much like the indigenous communities, that's how, it was through the craft. The art was expressed through the craft. But we also had a print shop. I worked in the print shop. I helped set that up. And so our publications also we had so many artists, as you might imagine. So a lot of us contributed in one way or other to illustrations and whatever. So the art impulse found its expression in various ways there. And as far as my own personal art goes, and also I started a pottery while I was there, and was able to have other people come in, and either some people other than me had been potters before, and so they participated. And then some of the people who had worked on the illustrations at our publishing part would come down and decorate some of the pottery. In fact, one of the things we did there at the pottery was, unfortunately, just being a community, we had people to pass away, some older people and some babies, tragically. And so we started our own little graveyard. And so I created a mold to cast concrete headstones, and they have a slot in the top, and then I would make these tiles to put on it that would have their names on it. And then 2 side panels would be decorated with these beautiful bird drawings by one of our artists. And it was quite beautiful. It was really nice. But since leaving there, I've illustrated a book. I have gotten into art photograph. In fact, a lot of the Instagram announcements that go out for Great Tree Talks have a lot of my photography in it. So there's that. And then I write poetry because I enjoy it. It's a hobby. I don't do it professionally, as part of the literary scene or anything, but I've published a few. But mostly it's for my own, just like sitting. I take the writing and the art like I do sitting. I think everyone actually should participate in some form of art, as well as sport, music if they can, music as a form of art. I think, unfortunately, in our consumer society, we've sort of siloed all of us into different little slots and everything. But originally, in communities, everyone practiced some form of art, I think. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
It does. It really does. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
as long as I've been around Buddhism, I never quite had the distinct layered understanding of commitment to the way that you gave it, like Jukai, and then your teacher position, and then priesthood. I never quite understood that. So thank you for explaining how that all fits in with everything. It was helpful to me. Thank you. And
that's
you're
my
right. You were the
understanding.
one,
What now?
huh?
Oh, I said that's
I
my.
say, and you're the one and you're the one who does put out all the flyers and things, some of those beautiful pictures that you put together and have for the advertisements for sessions and for these talks. And we are very grateful for that.
Well, some of those also are stock photos. If I don't have something that relates, I'll go into the stock photo realm and pluck something out. Yeah, I enjoy that. It's fun exercise to do.
I have been really impressed by your ability to, so consistently do that. And so often it feels to me like there's an extra level of understanding or vision or something coming through those announcement images. They, yes, they're really, I don't know, but it feels like a testament to your practice, actually. So thank you for that.
Sure. I think one informs the other. I think a lot of people probably don't realize how strong an effect Buddhism has had on American art and not just imagery, but writing as well. That's why I sort of mentioned those writers in that one section. They were all influenced heavily by Buddhism. Philip Whalen actually ended up ordaining. Gary Snyder spent time in Japan in monasteries and has an ongoing practice. Jack Kerouac, his books heavily influenced. He himself didn't take it any further than his writing, but still, Allen Ginsberg famously, helped calm down the sort of the environment during the Chicago riots with chanting, Buddhist chants. So, they've all had a strong effect on our culture. Yeah.
If I may, I just want to put out there that one of my favorite poems is Gary Snyder's Smokey the Bear Sutra. Have you seen that? You must have over the years, but it's,
I have, but I don't remember it. Yes.
It's a great, in some ways it's a parody, but not to ridicule, but to simply take an image that so many people are familiar with and make it part of a teaching. And I do recommend it. It's not, oh, Leonard Cohen. Yeah. When you spoke, I was thinking of Gary Snyder, and I do recommend for everyone Smokey the Bear Sutra.
Thank you. There's also Lawrence Ferlinghetti. I omitted his name after the Waco disaster. He wrote an incredible poem. I forget the name of it, but it's something like Buddha in the Woodpile. It was a wonderful poem after that tragedy. Jane Hirschfield, who was recently Chancellor of the American Academy of Poets, is a practicing Buddhist. Wonderful poetry of hers. Former Poet Laureate Merwin, I'm forgetting his first name right now, from who lives who is passed away now, was a Buddhist.
And if I may jump in here again, I don't mean to keep talking, but it just occurred to me to remember that Tina Turner, who passed away the other day, was a Nichiren Buddhist. And
That's right.
yeah, so just in her honor, I'll be quiet now.
No, be quiet. Yeah, she said an interesting thing. She said somebody had asked her about her life. She had a rough life, even though she was very successful, she had a lot of hard times. She was abused. And someone asked her about it. She said, no, I had a wonderful life, and what I take from it is how I responded to everything. And then that comes from her Buddhist practice, that she didn't see bad things happening to her as, this gloom and doom thing, but as teachings, and her Buddhist practice enabled her to respond to those in such a way that she was able to rise above it. And that was a wonderful statement from her, and a testament to her ongoing practice. Alice Walker, also a Buddhist. She has a good connection with Pema Chodron. The composer, Philip Glass, Buddhist. Once we're done here, I'll probably think of about 6 or 7 more, but those are some I can think of off the top of my head.
May I comment? Can you hear me? I'm Ado Phoebe Reinhardt from Minneapolis. I was ordained by Shohaku Okumura. And I really appreciate what you said about music and art. And I believe that, I'm very supportive of that in children growing up, and it seems to be quite missing, and actually was in my own life. And I always felt kind of missing in that area, that I didn't have some artistic experience or expression. And one thing I particularly missed was singing, because singing in our Western way, which we don't have in our Buddhist practice. So I recently joined a choir, and and it's been so enriching and satisfying to be able to sing. And anyway, it really helps with what I felt was missing in my life and practice. And I also want to mention too that my 2 sons are musicians, especially one of them, and they are not Buddhist or anything else, but they were been influenced by, well, partly by me, and so they have many of the values that we share. And I think for my younger son, who's a musician,
his music is his spiritual practice. And he couldn't live without it. I mean, it's just part of his life. And I appreciate that and respect that, and I think understand it too, how powerful that can be. You've probably heard the somebody's quotation that life without music would be a mistake, and that's kind of for him that would be true. There isn't life without music. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I think all art, but especially music, when you mention it, it's where everything comes together, like sitting in zazen. In music, you use your brain to see what's going on, and then it becomes so much a part of you that when you express the music, you're using your body, your mind, your spirit, and everything, and you feel where you're going with it. And I think all arts are like that, whether it's photography or poetry or painting or anything. Everything you know and everything you process comes out at that time. And it's a lot like just sitting zazen, because you're all there, right there with everything that you have.
And music connects us with the rest of the animal kingdom as well. Whales, birds, and art. I mean, look at a hummingbird nest, if you've ever seen one. Incredible, incredible thing, a hummingbird nest. It's a feat not only of engineering, but artistic expression. You know, it's a wonderful thing. Look it up, hummingbird nest. There's some fish that actually create sort of an art sort of thing on the bottom of the sea floor to attract a mate. And of course, birds do that as well too. So we share that with the rest of the creation. And, you know, none of them do it for money. They do it for life. It'd say that art is our original language. Art, music, you know, both.
I said I wasn't going to comment anymore, but I'll just do it anyway. Just that comment makes me think, you know, in the past, before we had radio and all that kind of stuff, a lot more people learned how to play music, you know, for the home piano or the banjo, you know, fiddle for dances and other, you know, in other regions, there were many people who trained in music just to become better people, because like any discipline, you have to do it day by day, and maybe it makes you more thoughtful or more disciplined. But you know, we seem to have lost that, and as you say, especially when it became big business. But one of the things that, you know, as much as people complain about younger people with their cell phones and all that kind of stuff, so much of what they seem to do that I'm aware of is to create their own videos. You know, they may use the, you know, pieces of other people's music or pieces of other people's art, but they put it together in a way that's expressing themselves. And I guess I have some hope for us in the way that in many cases the technology has enabled more people to communicate, just as you say, through, not through words, but with either sound or images that they may not have been able to do in the past.
Yeah, it's the whole cell phone internet thing is you know a mixed bag. In some ways, it's been detrimental, but in so many other ways, just like you say, it's not been detrimental. It's actually helped with communication and expression. So, like everything, we had to find the middle way, and that as well. Well, if there's not anything else, maybe we'll conclude. Lauren, you have a sutra, closing sutra, one of you?
Do you want to be my echo?
Sure.
We do it in the Thich Nhat Hanh style.
Okay.
May the merit of this practice
May the merit of this practice
benefit all beings
benefit all beings
and bring peace.
and bring peace.
Thank you, Daigu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank all of y'all for participating.